What's going on, boys? NealGuides here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video I got a penalty kick tutorial. Everyone's been asking me how penalties have changed. Why does that penalty from last year? Anyone remember this penalty over here? I'll show you right now. I'm doing it right now live. We did a green time shot and the penalty still goes in. It still does work. I'm going to go through everything, how to save penalties, how to score them, how to increase efficiency, etc, etc. So first things first, controls on the screen so you know exactly what I'm doing, and that's recorded live so you can see exactly what I'm pressing. The best advice I would say is go to the main menu, go play, go to quick play modes, and then just behind the controller you can see skill games. Now first and foremost, for anyone that's new to FIFA, even if you're an existing player and you're a top tier player, I'd recommend you to go through every single one of these categories, because the game has the fundamentals. If you part my FIFA School, you'll see as well, the fundamentals never change, but how things work, a new mechanic will be introduced over here. And EA have done a very good job of giving you an array of actual game modes that you try them in, and loads of kind of skill games itself. So I recommend doing those. But if you want to go to the penalty ones, you want to head over to set pieces, and you have to do the initial two. So you can't do the other ones. You have to basically do the first three, which shouldn't take too long, about a couple of minutes, and then you can go to penalty kicks against the keeper. Now there's a lot of things. First of all, the most important thing is the player itself. Obviously, the player with the best penalty, the best penalty stat, will basically have a smaller reticle. So this is the reticle that moves around. I'll explain to you why it goes larger in a second, how that increases inefficiency whatsoever. The second thing is the run-up. Now, players like Pogba, players like Neymar are notorious for having a specific run-up. So if I try to take a shot here with Neymar, you can see how he sidesteps to the left, and then he goes towards the ball. Now, if you're trying to green time the shot, it actually makes it a bit more difficult and it's hard to judge. And sometimes, if for example you want to hold, for example, the penalty kick in the top left corner, and Neymar is, for example, taking a long time to run up, as you can see, my thumb is shaking a little bit, and actually the circle becomes wider, and thus it increases the, I suppose, well, inefficiencies occurred because then there's a wider area for you to shoot from, and it reduces your accuracy. So those are all things to bear in mind. The next thing is, as you can see on the player's head, you see when I look to the left and to the right, I'm just going to do this again, focus on Neymar's head, because Neymar is a perfect example, right? It depends on, if a player's got longer hair, you can see, but if I move my controller to the left, Neymar looks to the left. You see that? If I move my controller to the right, Neymar looks to the right. So if you ever aim to the right hand side in game and you take a shot, your opponent knows you're going into that direction. So that is number one psychology. So a lot of people always forget that. So what you would find is, on like division, in a hierarchy form, division 7 to 8 players and above, sometimes they don't even know about this head movement. And if you see, for example, in division 3, they'll aim, for example, one way, keep looking that way because they want you to think that you're actually going that way, and then they'll change directions last minute. And then you see in division 1, which is the funniest thing, they look that way deliberately and they actually go the way they're looking, because then the other division 1 player thinks they're trying to outsmart them. So in effect, it's all a psychological game. It's the same when you're going, if you got 5 penalties to take, don't have an order. Don't go, for example, 1 over here, 2 over here, go 3 over there. Go like, for example, 1 over there, maybe go 2 here, maybe go 3 here, then maybe go 5 here, then maybe go 4. So whichever order you do it in, don't put it in the exact, don't do 1, 2, 3, don't put it in a systematic order. Likewise, statistically speaking, a lot of the time, people like to take their last penalty kick in the middle. So I normally sidestep to the once and then sidestep to the middle again to kind of bluff the player. So these are all things to take into account, because it doesn't matter. Even if you aim very, very awkwardly, let's say, for example, you change direction last minute and you aim there, as long as you somewhat, to some extent, outsmart your opponent, the ball is still going to go in the back of the net. Now, in terms of the shot type, now, this circle, as I mentioned to you, it changes. So if you load up your shoot, so anywhere you aim it now is a precise circle. If I aim it to the bottom left and press the shoot button, if I move my left analog stick, that inaccuracy increases. Do you see that? So that's why when people, for example, they look one way and then they go to the other side of the pitch, the circle is so big, and that's basically the radius and the circumference of where the ball can go in theory. Now, there's no, once that circle radius increases, there's no way to reduce it. The only way you can reduce it is if you try to green time a shot. So watch, if I try to green time it, you can see when I use it yellow, the circle goes down in a little bit. If I, for example, do the exact same thing, I aim one way again, and I go to the opposite end, and this time I'm going to try to green time it now. And you can see even with yellow, it goes a bit smaller. Green timing, I'll be honest, but don't bear in mind, you don't get that bar when you're playing like Foot Champions. you'll have to look at the player's feet and then time it like that to perfection. So understand that circle radius, it does move to the left and to the right. So my best advice is when you're taking a penalty, aim in the middle. Let your player run up, use a little bit of power in my opinion, then aim into the bottom left onto the bottom right and try to green time it. That is my best advice. Generally speaking, I found that if the player is, even if that, let's say Neymar's got a 5-star weak foot, you can't actually choose which foot he takes it on. That should be a feature like how Santi Cazorla changed his foot back in the day, but you can't do that in this game. So if someone is right-footed generally as their strong foot, that's the foot they're going to be taking it with, so do bear that in mind. So what I would say is, if someone is right-footed, in theory, it's best to go towards the opposite side because you get the curl going that way, and when it's going that way, it's moving away from the keeper. So what I normally do is, I aim at the goalkeeper, a tad bit of power, like legit a tiny bit. Midway through the run-up, when the head movement can't move anymore, aim it, and then I get it in a corner. Now, when you're playing Foot Champions, you're not going to see this circle reticle. So what I would say, aim to the middle, and learn where to move your left analog stick. Now I know if I hold it around about, now you'll learn this from playing the game, but if you hold it, let's say around about, imagine that's a 12 o'clock, that's like 12 on a clock, right? If you hold it like there, so imagine that's being like 7 o'clock. I know if I hold that at 7 o'clock, like I can take a penalty here, and I can hold like around 7 o'clock, maybe not the precise angle, but you see I open my eyes, you see I know it's roughly in the corner. Then all you have to do is green time, and you can see, for example, there, the goalkeeper couldn't save it. So if you know, for example, roughly where to go in Foot Champions, you remember it. And obviously for kickoff, this is a bit of an extreme level. You'll see, for example, sometimes in the pro games there's no reticle, and that is why penalties is a bit of a gamble. So that's why my best advice is aim towards the middle. Another thing people ask me is what type of shot do you want to use? You can use finesse shots, they're quite good. I just don't like them because they don't have enough power. Now, sometimes some people try to move the goalkeeper, they sidestep to the left and then they dive all the way. So imagine Mandanda, for example, in goal, whoever that is, they will sidestep once and they'll do it with the left analog stick, and then they'll hold the right analog stick to then dive that way. So you can actually sidestep with the goalkeeper to the left and to the right with your left analog stick. So that is why I'm not really much in favor of the finesse shot. And the second one is a dink shot or a penalty, a paneka, whatever you want to call it. They're only effective if you aim it in the top corner. It's very hard to do. You want to hold it there, and you basically don't want to move the cursor at all, and you need to green time it. So that trick from last year, it still works, but as you can see, the goalkeeper saves it more often than not. So for it to be guaranteed, you have to literally hold it in that left analog stick in that exact spot, right? Like there. Just there in a corner. And you need to green time it. If you don't green time it, you can see my left analog stick, my hand is actually shaking. Look, can you see how big the radius is? So you have to understand, you have to get it green for that to go in. So what I'd recommend is a power shot. Don't do too much power because the circle will also increase in size. So not only will moving it around increase, the circle will increase in size. So if you do a lot of power, the circle then becomes really, really big. So although you do get the power advantage, if you try to aim it in the corner and you don't green time it, or as you see that yellow timed and I missed. So my best advice is tap it, literally tap it. Just not too less power, but not too much. Like as you can see, there's nothing, barely a reticle. Aim towards a corner and then green time it. That is my best advice. Now, if you screw up, the safest thing to do, let's say you do too much power and you screw it up, just aim at the goalkeeper's feet. Because you see the radius can only go down and it can't go any higher. So very, very likely, most of the time, if you do full power, let's say completely uncontrollable, and you aim at the goalkeeper's feet, it will stay along the radius. Sometimes it will go over. You can see the ball in theory can go anywhere in that radius. But if I aim it on the ground, you basically got that safety net. So remember, if you always mess up, just aim it somewhere downwards. Another good advice is if you aim it downwards like this, and if you time your shots, you basically got that guarantees. If you ever do mess up, just aim straight at the goalkeeper's legs and then time your shot and then kind of hope for the luck of the draw. But my best advice is start normal shot, let the player run up, and then choose your angle. So change it every single time. So the first time go, for example, to the left-hand side, it went too much there. Then you go to the left-hand side and go to the right, then go to the left and go to the left again. And that is what I would say in terms of penalties. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that penalty tutorial. Just remember the head movement still exists. If you don't know who the player is, you don't know if they're pro, I said best advice, aim at the middle, then choose your direction after. A little bit of power, and don't forget the most important thing is to time that shot. My best advice is if you can't see a time indicator, look at the player's feet. So look at Neymar's feet. just before the ball, his strong foot hits the ball, you want to time it about then, and that's when you get it. Because I'm watching this, well, I'm recording this through OBS Live, there's a bit of delay. But if you aim it just about there, as you can see, I green timed it, you get it in the corner. So that is my best advice. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, take it easy. And don't forget to join my FIFA School Series, patreon.com/NealGuides. Link is down below in the description and in the bottom right. Full money back guarantee if you don't get better after 1 month. Thanks for watching boys, take it easy.